Hello, hello, hello. How we doing, guys? Welcome back, everyone. This is David Patrick Carey with Church of the Eternal Logos. And today, I want to talk to you guys about family. We're going to be reflecting on the family vacation that I was just on. I'm talking about the hit piece from Orthodoxy In Dialogue, essentially trying to oust me at school and prevent me from a variety of platforms. And we're going to be getting into cancel culture, generally speaking. So today's going to be a fun stream. Again, I've been off for about over a week because I went on vacation. But we got a lot to cover and talk about. We're going to be hitting on E. Michael Jones, Stefan Molyneux getting deplatformed, a lot of new things going on. And so first, I hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody is enjoyed their 4th of July, their celebration of Independence Day. And I know I did. And so that's where we're going to start today, is really talking about the importance of family and how, in my mind, again, we're existing in this incredibly fluid culture of cancellation, of problematizing anybody who had a difference of opinion. And so this is led to a multitude of different phenomenon in our culture, but certainly the cancel culture, which we're seeing on rapid speed after these BLM protests, sort of the COVID-19. It's very, very interesting. So today, I first want to talk about why family can't be canceled, and then I'm going to go over, actually I have a quick little video in regards to me surprising my mother for her birthday. Her birthday is actually July 3rd, the day before Independence Day. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, I didn't plan on last week. I did a stream on Tuesday on Trump. And previously that day, I had taken my sister, who has 3 little girls, 3 high school girls, Jalen, Megan, and Allie. Shout out to you guys if you happen to be watching. And they were going to a very special place, family vacation in northwestern Iowa. It's at a Methodist camp that my great-grandfather founded. So the father of my grandmother on my father's side founded a Methodist camp on a very special lake called Lake Okoboji in northwestern Iowa, just south of the Minnesota line. And this place is very special to our family because my grandmother's father, my great-grandfather, was one of 6 Methodist ministers to found this particular camp. And then they end up building many of the cottages within that camp. So when I was growing up, every summer it was going to Lake Okoboji to celebrate, spend time with my family. So while other kids were going to Florida, while other kids were going to, wherever it is, typical vacation spots, whether that be spring break or the summer, I was always going with my family to Lake Okoboji in northern Iowa. And so my sister, I had taken her to go get a rental car last week. I think it was Monday. And we discussed me surprising my mother for her birthday. So my sister, again, she has 3 little girls. She's married. Her and then 2 of her actual friends, her adult friends, were going to Iowa for vacation for a full week. The same place that I would go periodically growing up. That, again, has a very special importance within my family. So she convinced me to surprise my mother and show up unexpectedly Thursday for her to see. And so that's exactly what I did. Now, full info is that, this past year has been very difficult in regards to my mother, and she has had some health problems. So she has been diagnosed with a sort of autoimmune disease. It's a rare form of muscular dystrophy. So we're very optimistic. We're very hopeful. I'm sure some of you guys may be familiar with what exactly that all entails. And so given everything that has transpired in this past year, my sister said it would be great if you came out there with us so the whole family could be together for my mother's birthday. And I thought, you know what? I didn't plan on going. I had other streams planning on doing later that week, videos to make, things to read. But I thought, you know what? Actually, that is really important. And that's what I did. So on Wednesday, well, technically late Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, I got up around 1:30 a.m. It's a 700-mile drive out to the cottage, and so I left and drove all night. I was up for over 24 hours because once I got there, it was a celebration. We go out on the boat, we do all this stuff. So, but it was a wonderful, wonderful surprise, and it meant so much to my mother. And so I wanted to share with you guys because we're going to be getting into the hit piece. We're going to be getting into all this sort of controversy that's going on in our society. But I wanted to begin with something sort of wholesome, something positive, something that's meaningful. And I wanted to share with you guys the video that one of my nieces did. Shout out to Allie. She filmed when I first arrived at the family cottage. She filmed me surprising my mother. And so what you're going to see in this video is my dog. So for those of you who know me in person, you know that I have a pit bull. I have a pit bull named Sergeant. He is 13 years old. He's an old guy. I adopted him from the animal shelter when he was a year and a half, and he was found at Camp Atterbury, which is a military base south of where I'm currently at in Indiana, and that's why I named him Sergeant. But Sarge has been all over the United States. He's traveled with me everywhere. He's been more places than most people have. And Sarge is very old, and he's got some growths on his underbelly. And so when I arrived to Iowa, the first thing my sister wanted to do, knowing that I was going to be there to surprise everybody, she wanted to allow Sarge to go around and say, "Hey, Mom, look, doesn't that dog look like Sarge?" And then I was going to walk around and surprise her because she had no idea. My father had no idea until the night before. Most of my nieces didn't know because they can't keep a secret. So it was quite a bit of fun, and that's what I want to share with you guys now, is that whole experience. And I know it's no Oka. Okay, so Justin stamps it. It's Lake Okoboji, spelt like this, Okoboji. But anyways, I wanted to share with you guys the surprise video, and you can see how much it means to my mother, and then that's going to be a launching point for we talk about the importance of family and building something that can't be canceled inside of the cancel culture we exist in. So hopefully the sound works. Let's make sure the sound will work here, but check this out.
Taking a video. I can see his tumors hanging. She goes, that is sorry. The tumors. That does look like SARS.
So, sorry guys. It makes me a little emotional to know how much that meant for my mother. And so we had a great time, had a wonderful time in Okoboji. Sorry, I didn't have the microphone up, but just to know how much that meant to my mom, for the whole family to be there for her birthday, for the 4th of July, especially given what's going on in culture. My family typically has very conservative values, so you can imagine just the state of society, how that kind of causes anxiety. So it was a wonderful, wonderful time. And of course, Friday, it wasn't until Saturday, or actually it wasn't until Saturday till I found out. But of course, Friday, we had Orthodoxy in Dialogue write a hit piece on me. So mind you, why I was surprising my mom, driving out there, spending a very wholesome vacation with the whole family, with my nieces, with my sister, with my brother-in-law, with some of her friends, with my parents, with old family friends that lived in the camp. I'm getting attacked by a homosexual that in a group within Orthodoxy that promotes degenerate practices. So it seemed like everything came full circle to a degree, sort of symbolically, but also literally. Sorry, I'm sure it's all messed up. So family. Why is family so important? Because it's a real foundation. And so when as much of what we talk about, of course, the ultimate foundation being God, and in regards to outside of sort of a sort of theological foundation, all we really have is family. And so family is where we're going to be rooted at. Family is what's going to protect us. Family is what's going to give us strength. And I apologize for everyone who didn't grow up in a situation in where you had a strong family. Maybe you had parents that weren't the best. They were struggling with things. And so I apologize for anybody who didn't grow up in a situation. I'm very, very lucky. And one of the things that I give thanks to, that I've spoken to my parents about, is a thankfulness for them. My parents have been married my whole life, so they've stayed together. They live in the same house that they lived in before I was born. They are rooted in traditional Christian values. They did a wonderful job raising my sister and myself, and so I feel so thankful. And I didn't realize that until I got to college, until I did my undergraduate, and I came around with a lot of different people with different backgrounds. And you see how people's experiences growing up drastically shape themselves, the way they feel about themselves, what they plan on accomplishing, their personalities, all that stuff. And so it wasn't until I actually went to college during my undergraduate that I saw the detriments imposed on kids because of the shortcomings of their parents. And it just gave me more and more thankfulness to my parents. And I think this is something that in these times that we should all be keep on the forefront of our mind. I talk a lot about forming our families. Majority of you guys watching, the majority of the people on this channel are young men. And we are looking for spouses. We're looking for people to build families with. So this is all great stuff. And I just wanted to talk then about how family is our real foundation, not just the ones we're going to build, but the ones that we come from. And whether you grew up in a bad situation or not, that's still a learning experience for what you want to have when you do create your own family. And so the family can't be canceled. And when we look at society, when we look at even what we're going to get into in regards to the article that was written on me, trying to get me kicked out of school, those are all worldly things. I can get kicked out of the university I'm in for my PhD program. I can be deplatformed from a variety of different social medias. I can, be, not permitted to use this or that site. But a family can't be canceled. And so the family that we emerge from and the families that we are going to create are essential. They're essential to our rootedness, to our foundation as individuals, and the real sources of love and meaning. And we've talked about having children. We've talked about finding somebody you love and the importance of having children, of having real meaning in your life. So the way in which we experience authentic love. Of course, we understand the love of God. We understand the Christ's love for us. But one of the most intimate ways in which we actually experience that is the love from our mother, the love from our parents, our father. And when you don't have, your biological father isn't there for you, it gives all these reasons of why didn't they want me? Why was I not enough? This or that. And this can be led to, of course, parents, helicopter parents, wanting to do so much for their children that they actually, cause negative feedback loops, negative behavior in regards to their way that they associate with other people, or their sort of entitledness, their narcissism, all these different things. So family is the real ultimate source of value. And I loved how, again, when I was being attacked online, and we're going to get into that next right now, it was my family that couldn't believe it. And it gave me, in the fact that even though I couldn't defend myself, because again, I wasn't near, the microphone, I wasn't in the place where I record my videos. It wasn't like I could just hop on and talk about, oh my gosh, they, look what they're saying about me or this or that. I couldn't really do any of that. I was kind of caught off guard. I was 700 miles away, and I was with my family. And at the same time, I had this really, real calmness because God knows my heart. I repent regularly. I pray regularly. The idea that somehow I have something I'm ashamed of and need to hide from people, like my Rebel Orthodox t-shirt that I was promoting everywhere, I don't feel shameful. Maybe I am, I'm disappointed in maybe some of the way it, everything transpired, but I have nothing to hide. And so being with my family and then just praying about it, just kind of giving the whole situation up to God. And, I felt very calm about it. So I just wanted to share that first experience, the sort of positivity, the importance of family, and why building. And this also leads to, then this has got me thinking on how to build a future that can't be canceled. We've talked about family, but to have a family, you're going to have some form of income. You're going to have to make money. You're going to have shelter. So, one of the things I've been thinking is, how do you create a life in 2020 moving forward where no matter what happens, people can't cancel you? And so, and I don't mean just being on a social media platform, anybody can cancel you that way, but I mean literally, how do you have an income that can't be stopped? How do you build, building a property, finding a property, building a homestead? I think this is, the homestead movement is really where we all have to go. Growing our own vegetables, growing a lot of our own food, and then in my case, purchasing half a cow or purchasing large quantities of meat to put it in a freezer to save. That's what I'm sort of looking for. That's what I'm moving towards. That's what I want to build, is, again, something that can't be canceled, and it's all rooted in family. It's about family. And so I think this is something that we can all think about, is how do we build something that can't be canceled? Lately, side note, I've been looking at how you build like pole barns, turning pole barns into houses, and the expenses of that, because now I want to really plan. I want to really have a detailed goal that when I do meet the person that I'm supposed to be with, that I'm already in the processes of building our homestead, building our minor, if you will, sort of safety net, our empire, our house, our home, all this stuff, right? So I wanted to start with that. Now let's move into cancel culture, generally speaking, and how I see it at a sort of semiotic, symbolic level, how I see it at a theological level. And so the first thing that I want to highlight about cancel culture, and any Christian that would participate in cancel culture, is how that its fundamental premise, the idea that somebody has committed some type of act that needs to be totally canceled or erased or wiped off the internet, is really an anti-Christian idea. It's actually in direct opposition to any sort of Christian repentance. We can, as Christians, understand that people mess up. I mess up every day. But we always need to forgive people ultimately, because us holding into those grudges, and that was even something, and shout out to Subdeacon Mark and his wife Bobby. You guys are great friends, great mentors, and I love you guys. And I just wanted to say that. But Subdeacon Mark gives me great advice, and even somebody who we both knew began to attack me or mock me for the article. Almost find it funny that things in my life might change, or I might get kicked out of school. And immediately, I, being a sort of arguably a violent in school, I always got into a lot of. I liked fighting. I liked conflict. I liked that type of stuff. Not that I seek it out, but I don't shy away from it. And so, when a man sort of mocks you in a time of, in a disturbed time in which things are kind of up in the air, the first thing is sort of you want to do something about it. And Subdeacon Mark, again, any me holding any grudge onto somebody else is going to hold me back, and that's the problem with not living a full Christian life. So the first thing is to realize that cancel culture is entirely in opposition to Christian forgiveness, and we as Christians are always willing to forgive. Now, it doesn't mean we forget. We don't forget things. We don't forget if somebody's a pedophile. We don't forget if somebody did heinous crimes against somebody else, but we can ultimately forgive them. And we've seen this in beautiful instances where I'm blanking on the gentleman's name, but it was an African-American family. Their son was unjustly killed, and they forgave the person who did it. And that is powerful stuff. And that's really how then our faith even spreads, because when we act out our faith, which also occurs through martyrdom, that's how we convince others of the reality of the things that we talk about. We convince them by living that lifestyle, and then ultimately having the faith to die for it, to die for that truth, to die for our tradition. And so, so that's the first thing, is that cancel culture is in opposition to Christian forgiveness. And I want to say also that cancel culture, then, we already see that it's sort of at a dialectical tension with Christianity itself, but I also feel, to add on to it, that it's a manifestation of evil, that the cancellation of individuals is ultimately about darkness canceling out light. And when we look at a lot of the things, and I'm not using myself as an example here, just because I used a sort of provocative symbol to talk about being a rebel for Christ, and we'll get into that here in a second. I'm going to read his article. We're going to go over some screenshots of what these people were talking about, who are trying to get me deplatformed and kicked off Teespring. Luckily, we have Orthodox brothers and sisters who actually care about truth, and they are part of groups that I'm not a part of. And so he took screenshots and sent those to me so I could help see what's going on from behind the scenes. But basically, before we even get into the details of that, I see people being canceled for speaking truth, just saying truthful things. And whether that be saying that there's only two genders or two sexes, or that sex and gender aren't disconnected, that gender isn't a performative phenomenon that we do linguistically or through our appearance, that gender is tied up to way more than that. This is all sort of performative linguistic theory developed by Judith Butler out of UC Berkeley. But we're seeing that the cancel culture, of course, we already know that it's part of a Marxist plan. We already see that the Cultural Revolution, we see the sort of Bolshevik esque relations to what we see it. Again, shout out to Rocor, who actually highlighted that, unlike GoArch and parts of OCA, who seem to be supporting BLM. But we see the tearing down of statue. All this stuff is, again, a sort of darkness to reorient history. We saw that in the Cultural Revolution in China by Mao, again, a Yale graduate funded by the West. And so we see this dialectic, and Jay Dyer has done a great job talking about and really doing a very scholastic and detailed academic analysis of showing how the Western elite are behind, and have been behind, historically speaking, whether it be the Bolshevik Revolution or the Communist Revolution in China, or I'm sure the Vietnam I haven't heard him talk about that, but that the Western powers, the Western elites, they funded a lot of this stuff. They love communism. Communism, again, the fake dialectic we had between capitalism and communism during the Cold War, these things are no longer useful, because we see how, if anybody who's played Monopoly, we see how capitalism, to a degree, ends in the same way that communism begins, with a centralized force, a monopoly, if you will, a monopoly on whatever it is. Now, of course, there's more freedom within capitalism. We have private property. All these different things are going to be entailed with the sort of Adam Smith understanding of capitalism, which we grew out of. And so there's a conversation there. We can find, what's good, what's bad about all these different political ideologies. But cancel culture itself is really a darkness. It's really an evil force to cover up bits and lights of truth being spoken. Whether that be about race realism. For example, are we not allowed to say that races are real? But then, and this is tied up to the sort of hypocrisy within the progressive worldview in general, is we have to say that, race is a social construct. But then they talk about all these different things that are beyond social constructs. And in fact, medicine, we know race isn't a social construct. And in fact, I've seen Orthodox priests saying that race is a social construct, when we know that, for example, sickle cell anemia, which occurs greatly in people from Eastern Africa at a higher degree, Africa generally, but Eastern Africa more specifically, at a higher rate than anybody else in the world. That is tied to their biology. The manifestation of different melanin phenotypes is still biological because it's still genetic. And so to say that race is just this social construct that was developed by the eugenicists in the 18th, 19th, and 20th century, that's not the case. And doctors who perform medicine know that there are real differences between races. But to just announce that, to just say that, you could be canceled. I'm sure somebody's already been canceled. Now, that doesn't say that we should be racist. Of course, everybody who watches this channel knows I'm not a racist. I'm not a white supremacist. God created all creatures. Doesn't mean we can't talk about then the uniqueness and differences between races, because those exist as well. But no Christian can be a white supremacist. That is anti-Christian theology. God created all races. And again, from a sort of Orthodox perspective, that is beautiful. And those differences should be recognized and I think maintained, because that's the way that God created the world. And so when we look at then the sort of Gnostic, satanic, technological movement that we're moving in, the transhumanism, where Satan is now in control of life, that we're everything that God created, everything that's ultimately natural, and we can, understand that we're in a fallen world, all this stuff, but all the natural processes are really all under attack from the satanic, technocratic, Gnostic process, the progressive ideology that wants to turn humans into robots through transhumanism. We see it in the vaccines. We see that I saw something in Japan, and that is also happening in Western countries, these pods to grow babies, that the idea that you need to have a baby grow inside of you, well, that's old hat, right? That's what people used to do. That may stretch your skin out, all these different medical problems. No, what's being promoted now that I saw is taking your fetus, taking out of your body and putting it into a pod. It reminded me just like the Matrix. And so it's crazy. It's mind-bending. It's also, been programmed. We see it, predictive programming in our television sets. We see the Hunger Games. We see what's coming. We see we see what the globalist agenda is. And so the cancel culture is ultimately, and I'm not saying anything you guys don't already know. I just if I'm doing anything well, I'm bringing a few different strands together, but it's ultimately a force of darkness to cover light, because the premise, the epistemological premise, is postmodernism. It's subjectivism, it's relativism. So there is no objective truth in their worldview to orient oneself towards. And so the whole process then is to cover up any aspect of that objective reality. And Subdeacon Mark mentioned, we are not created primarily as white, black, Asian, etc. We are created in the image and likeness of God, of course. Absolutely. And so it doesn't matter what race you are or ethnicity. We're all created in the image and likeness of God, and that's our free will. That's our relationship to sin. That's our ability to think, language, all this different stuff. So, agreed, and thank you for that comment, Subdeacon Mark. And so, cancel culture, then, of course, it's a tool of the darkness. It's evil. It's anti-Christian in regards to our understanding of forgiveness, but it's a method for vengeance. And of course, as Christians, we believe that is left to God. But if you don't believe in God, if you are in opposition, then cancel culture can be used as a tool for you to take your own vengeance out on other people. And of course, that's what occurred on me. That's what occurs on a lot of people. You know, I am not unique, and as some people said, you know, you don't officially make it until you get a hit piece. And really, I am very thankful. I am very thankful that the guy wrote this piece, because the support I've got from the good friends I've got, the criticisms from people who I thought were friends, and then the ability to see who's absolutely not my friend, it's been really eye-opening. So overall, despite whatever may occur and the consequences, it's been a really positive experience, actually. So I actually want to thank him for it, because it's been very useful to me, kind of seeing who is really on my side, who really supports the things that I'm trying to talk about and discuss. And so the method of vengeance, it's really the people who don't want to compete. It's the least successful. These people, they don't want to debate, right? He didn't want to have a conversation about it. He didn't want to, you know, they had no evidence that I'm a white supremacist, or that I, as we'll get into, run a psychedelic anti-Trinitarian cult to get people to become white nationalists. This is actually what they thought. So there's no evidence of that. That's why they don't take a video clip of me talking. One, because I can defend myself in a sort of elegant fashion, but I'm not lying about anything. They may disagree with what I have to say, but if they played clips of me talking, it may convince the people who they're trying to show me as being, dismissed by whoever. They may see, oh, well, what he's saying is actually pretty interesting. So they just have to make up stuff. So it's outright lies, and it's a way for vengeance by the people who don't want to compete, who don't really have the gusto to deal with things. So it's the people who want to lurk behind shadows. And so we've seen this play out recently with E. Michael Jones and Stefan Molyneux. Stefan Molyneux, as you guys already know, got kicked off YouTube, and then a few days later he got kicked off Twitter. E. Michael Jones got kicked off Amazon, and then a few days later he gets kicked off YouTube. So we see how all this works. We see everybody getting canceled. We see how, again, this is just ways to cover up bits of light. Now, I don't think Stefan Molyneux was that controversial. The only thing controversial he talked about was IQ differences among racial groups, which is pretty solid scientific evidence. I mean, it doesn't mean that any one group's superior to the other, because that's just one vertical category of differentiation. But the fact that he talked about it, and that was worth 14 years of his YouTube channel getting kicked off, pretty surprising. I mean, it's actually not surprising. It's pretty eye-opening in regards to the level of information that is threatening to YouTube or the progressive narrative. It's literally anything that is true. And I think we need to see that it's just cancel culture. It's, oh, people are upset with this and they're ruled by, they are. But ultimately that emotion, I think, is tied to a larger demonic, a satanic and evil force to cover up all bits of light. Because what they're moving for is a satanic global government. This is pure evil, guys. And so if you're trying to orchestrate and construct a satanic global government, well, then you can't have anybody speaking in opposition to it, or at least within that, the Overton window. They can't be to the right of the Overton window. And so that's why we see Tucker Carlson. And to me, Tucker Carlson, having watched, I don't really follow, and I've followed probably the last couple weeks. I mean, he has some good points, but he's still way to the left of myself. And so if he is the very right of the Overton window that's allowed to exist right now, guys, we are in trouble. We have to speak up. The only way we can stop it is by speaking up and refusing to not, refusing the lies and to speak truth. And if that means you get kicked off Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, then so be it. Speak truth where you can speak truth. If that's Gab, if that's Minds, if that's BitChute. I mean, for example, I'm moving most of my operation to Gabs. Or in Gab, not Gabs, but Gab.com. If you're on Gab.com, find me at DPHARRY. At DPHARRY. I move because that's run by a Christian. I know I can say what I want to say there. And I like what they're doing. And so I'm going to put most of my eggs in that basket. That's going to be the sort of home base for my whole operation is Gab.com. And then YouTube. And I'm going to start posting all my videos on BitChute. So if you're on BitChute, search Church of the Eternal Logos, find that, subscribe. Please subscribe to me on BitChute. But that's going to be a big thrust of what I'm trying to do coming up. Also, guys, if you haven't, please hit like on this video. Please like, share, subscribe if you haven't. So anyways, now that we've talked about that, let's get into the actual hit piece. What is it that was brought up? And so here's the first image that I want to share with you guys. This is the tweet that I saw. So this is the guy, Giacomo Sanfilippo. This is the sodomite. He is a homosexual, defrocked former Orthodox priest, from all my understanding. And you guys can help me, correct me if I'm wrong, but from a lot of the fellow brothers that I've been in communication with, there is an article talking about his defrocking had to do with the uncovering of his relationship with another man. And so this is why he's no longer in the Orthodox Church. But of course, he created Orthodoxy In Dialogue, which is really just a progressive propaganda source to talk about LGBTQ issues, social justice, racial justice, really just the progressive ideology, which again, we've already tied to a sort of satanic opposition of the presuppositions of that Christianity, of a logos-centered worldview would actually support. So this guy is not an honest actor. He, again, is unfortunately living a life in sin, and hopefully he repents. Hopefully, we would more than welcome him back into the Orthodox Church, living an Orthodox Christian lifestyle. However, he was upset with myself, and I assume it's probably because of my promotion of a heterosexual relationships, of a heterosexual Christian nuclear family, all this stuff, and my criticisms of BLM, I'm sure, were not taken lightly. And so this is probably why in the week that I did my, after my BLM critique, and then I did a crisis in leadership where the whole thing was criticizing Trump in regards to aspects that he's failed at, though strong in other parts. They come out with the article. So now we're going to read, I'll leave that photo up, but we're going to read the article. What is it that they had to say? And so, open letter to, it should be to the Graduate Theological Union, Berkeley. So again, it's not well written. This guy, if he claims to be getting a PhD at some university in Toronto, not a whole lot of skill here. So we can see, again, a real opposition to meritocracy. I respect if you have a difference of opinion, but I can see that you are linguistically gifted. You're a great writer. You're a great scholar. I'll give you credit. I have no problem with that. I grew up playing sports, and I think this is a healthy masculine attitude, is competition and meritocracy. So what do we see here? Well, right in the title, we already see a grammar error. So he directs it to Dr. Uriah Kim, Dean, Graduate Theological Union. Yes. So that is the temporary dean right now, is Dean Uriah Kim. And he says, "Dear Dr. Kim, Orthodoxy In Dialogue is the world's most popular independent blog on Orthodox Christianity." No, that's certainly not the case. If we just look at this article, it only has 92 shares on Facebook. I don't think that is the most popular independent blog on Orthodox Christian. And I don't even know what he means by independent. Does he mean something that's not backed by the Orthodox Church? Because in that case, it probably is. But he says, one of the things for which we have become best known is our advocacy for social, racial, and LGBTQI justice. So what is the standard for justice? Is it biblical justice? Is it justice related to logos, to an objective principle, to an ordering principle that we can have an entire metaphysics towards? No. Justice is the acceptance of promiscuous or even degenerate practices from a biblical Christian worldview. So justice then is a compromised term. It does not mean justice. It means, well, anything that we deem worthy that you don't, and therefore you need to accept, bigot. So he goes on, your doctoral student, David Patrick Harry, is the founder of the so-called Church of the Eternal Logos. You will see his name as the URL, and he identifies himself in his affiliation with Graduate Theological Union it should be with the Graduate Theological Union on the About page, sure. So he hyperlinked my website, okay. One of our attentive readers has brought to our attention the fact that Mr. Harry's church, again, this is crazy. They actually think that I run a cult. They believe that Church of the Eternal Logos is a psychedelic anti-Trinitarian cult led by yours truly in an effort to get white men to become white supremacists. Yeah, I have the screenshots to prove it, and we'll get to that. So that Mr. Harry's church is marketing apparel on which an Orthodox cross is conflated with the Confederate flag and calling it, quote, Orthodox Rebel. Again, this is worded awkwardly. This is not well written. Not only is this highly objectionable to Orthodox Christians, so is homosexuality, but it puts GTU, and it should be the GTU, in a very poor light and raises serious questions about the safety of your students, staff, and faculty of color. So his main premise is that my t-shirt that's being sold online puts the safety of students, staff, and faculty of color in danger. Now, I've no longer live in Berkeley. All the people that work there know me. I have had, I may be considered sort of vocal in one's opinions, but I have no problem with anybody, especially anybody of color. One of my closest friends there was African. So the idea that my t-shirt is causing harm, again, it's laughable. It's really laughable. However, again, the age that we live in, who knows if somebody will be canceled for this or that, I mean, we live in such a time where it's hard to tell anything, but this is what he says. So it raises serious questions about the safety of your students, staff, and faculty of color. Please write to us at editors@orthodoxyindialogue.com at your earliest convenience and advise on how you intend to deal with this unfortunate situation. We will be happy to publish your response. Our readers are eager to hear from you. Sincerely. And then it's the defrocked homosexual former Orthodox priest. And so what's funny is then they list Orthodoxy in Dialogue's readers should contact Dr. Kim. So they give his email address or phone him. Then they give his phone number to communicate your concerns on this matter. So anyways, again, the whole idea is that I am a white supremacist for a symbol that, as you guys know, I talked about over and over again, how it had nothing to do with slavery. It had nothing to do with racism. It had everything to do with being a rebel for Christ, that really trying to follow Christ's message and intentions of, living a heterosexual lifestyle, trying to avoid pornography and lust and all the things that our society is trying to drag us into, that you are a rebel against society. You are rebelling against the norms. And that's why I developed the Orthodox Rebel logo, t-shirt, whatever you want to call it. We put it on the back of the General Lee, this was, of course, before the Dukes of Hazzard was completely canceled. I think that was like a week ago that they're no longer on TV. So, which is, again, ironic. Think about this. Some of the guys, I create the symbol, then they throw it on top of the General Lee, the Dodge Charger, the orange one used in the Dukes of Hazzard. Now, the whole premise of the show, the Dukes of Hazzard, is about brothers being good, the good old boys, never meaning no harm, that are perceived by people who are actually doing negative, who are actually doing harm, perceived as doing the wrong thing, when in each case they were doing the right thing. And so that is the premise for the Dukes of Hazzard, is these guys who are always deemed to do the wrong thing that are actually doing the right thing. So how funny is it that, again, anybody who's watched my videos, anybody who knows what I talk about, one would never deem me anti-Trinitarian. One would never say I promote white supremacy or promote the use of psychedelics in a Christian context. Like, none of this stuff makes any sense or has any real substance to it. So he goes on to say that he had an amendum. So this is on the 4th of July. So he actually wrote this article on the day of my mother's birthday. So the day that I am going to surprise my mother, given all the unfortunate news that we've received this last year. This gentleman, again, out of evil, right? Again, frame it, not that I am special, but guys, I don't get on here and lie. I tell you how I feel, and my goal is just to be honest. And I pray, and it's like God knows everything about me, and I'm very open about it. So the next day, they've done more research on me, and the further investigation reveals that I'm a member of St. Mary of Egypt Antiochian Orthodox Church in Greenwood, Indiana, and we have communicated our concerns to Metropolitan Joseph and Parish Rector Father Athanasius Wilson, and await their response. Our readers will recall that Matthew Heimbach once found a welcoming home in the Antiochian Archdiocese. Now, I don't even know who Matthew Heimbach is. I'm told, and I don't even believe what these people say. They claim he's a white supremacist. I doubt that. The fact that I'm a white supremacist, I doubt that this guy is. But they're trying to draw an association between me and him. And so, yeah, my priest was contacted. That's when Subdeacon Mark contacted me on the Sunday morning, so that had been July 5th. So they wrote this article July 3rd and said, oh, it's really causing controversy. I didn't find out about the article till the 4th, and so I took down the T-shirts off Teespring because Subdeacon Mark thought it'd be best because it's giving a bad image to Orthodoxy. So I voluntarily did that. I took down the shirts from my website and from my Teespring. And then also I got a phone call later in the week from my priest, Father Athanasius, and he recommended the same thing. And I said, well, I've already done that. So what's their next amendum? The day after? Again, this is after I voluntarily took these T-shirts down due to the advice of my parish because of the way it reflected on Orthodoxy, not because they didn't know what my original intentions were. It was already made aware. Subdeacon Mark was aware of what we were talking about, and he did say that this could potentially be interpreted in the wrong way, though he understood exactly what we were doing online. Because this was very popular from a lot of the young guys, right? A lot of the young guys like that logo. And I can't tell you how many emails I've got from people wanting to buy T-shirts or sweatshirts or coffee mugs with the Orthodox Rebel logo. And I say, unfortunately, based on the advice from my parish, I'm no longer selling those. But by far the most popular item that I've had for sale. But amendum of July 5th, 2020 says, Orthodoxy In Dialogue's Facebook group organized a campaign to have Teespring remove the page advertising Mr. Harry's Stars and Bars Orthodox Rebel apparel. It is gratifying to see that we succeeded in just over 24 hours. Here's the page where it was advertised. We still encourage Metropolitan Joseph, Father Wilson, and Dean Kim to investigate Mr. Harry for other evidence of white nationalist and anti-African American activities. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. These people are absolutely nuts. It's absolutely crazy. So That is the article. Now what I want to show you guys is look at the stuff. This is the campaign that they said that they were organizing on their special Facebook group. Now, luckily, we have real Orthodox brothers and sisters that are inside these groups, so I was able to be informed about what was going on immediately. But you guys would not believe the stuff that they were writing. Here, let's go through some of these. So the first one is, and you guys can join these groups, Practical Orthodoxy, join these groups, join all these Orthodox groups, even the progressive groups online, so we can keep an eye on these people and see what they're talking about, because it's going to be hilarious to see the, the cognitive, critical skills of these individuals isn't as sharp as maybe they think they are. So here's him telling people to flag my t-shirt, which again, I voluntarily, Teespring hadn't even taken, I could still sell it right now. Teespring didn't deem a problem with it. And even though they, of course, these evil people claim they have some victory because it's no longer up there. The only reason that t-shirt is not available is because Subdeacon Mark and my priest asked me to take it down. So that's the only reason it's not there. So here's him telling people where to go to flag my t-shirt. Okay. Now, you're going to love these comments. It's funny. It's sad. It's a mixed bags of emotions. So here's the first one. So they're trying to tell them to flag for under hate speech. They're giving each other the links. They're saying, oh, there are 4 of them. Yes, technically they appear as 4 listings, and maybe you can go in and report all 4. But if you click on this and scroll down, the product name / campaign ID is the same for all 4, no matter which you click on, because the way Teespring treats them is by design, not item they are printed on, I believe. Okay, so so here's the link, again, telling everybody to take it down. Maria can't seem to find how to report it, despite him drawing arrows where to click. Georgia, if you click on the link, then scroll down to see the clothing items labeled Orthodox Rebel, then click on the one and you'll see a picture similar to the one I posted. Do you see the little box the arrow is pointing to? That's where we report it. It's as if they made it so tiny that you'll give up. Sad, huh? Got it. Which option do you choose for reporting? This first, then under hate speech. So again, it's hate speech, even though, again, what is hate speech? So what is the principle of the symbol? To represent Christ, and to fully represent Christ is to be a rebel in today's society. And so what do we see? Well, that is ultimately hate speech to these people. Here is the next one. Okay. I love this. Reported all 4 versions of the shirt. Oh, she got 4 likes for that. This kind of thing is so depressing. I don't suppose it could be some kind of trolling situation as opposed to real Orthodox people doing this. Wait till you get that I have a psychedelic cult. This is the good part. Okay. Here we go. Again, this is Georgia. This is the brilliance that we are up against, guys. Okay, so she thinks maybe it's a trolling situation. Well, Georgia corrects her by saying, I thought about that. However, I've learned from 2 well-respected Matruskas, I don't even know what that is, that this person has a cult and is spreading heresies after joining the Orthodox Church. Yes, I have a cult. I have just found out from a 3rd and her daughter that this person possibly contacted their husband / father priest in the past with weird emails. They're double checking if this is true. Nonetheless, I looked him up after this, and he does have a church that he, quote, owns, and has a site in which he is spreading heresies. Now, this is probably the woman, if I go back, there was a woman who messaged me on Facebook asking me if I owned a church let me see if it's the same person. No, so it's been deleted, of course. But some random woman contacted me and asked me about the church I own. Oh, here it is. How exactly do you own a church? I said, I don't. I own a YouTube channel and a brand. Like, I couldn't believe the question, but again, it was somebody a part of this group who was accusing me of of running a cult. I mean, guys, the critical thinking skills in this are incredible. And in fact, go to my website and tell me what heresies I'm promoting. I'm not promoting any heresies. I'm promoting Orthodox theology. But this is, again, the level of critical thinking. So they do say I have a site and I'm spreading heresies and I own a church. So personally, I came to the conclusion, if it was trolling situation, I don't think that kind of a person or group would go to all these links just to troll. However, as I mentioned, I did originally think the same thing as you. I decided to get involved also, despite the fact that they might get my information. I now believe my duty is to protect the church, trolls or not. I believe inaction will hurt more so. So, do you think my conclusion makes sense? I'm truly open for discussion. Friends of mine of whom I don't have permission to give names as of now. Now, mind you, this person promotes homosexuality and the BLM, all this different stuff, and is accusing me of being the heretical one that's running you'll get to the psychedelic part, a psychedelic anti-Trinitarian cult. Monica then responds, "Oh, thank you very much for the reply. It's a disturbing situation, and I feel sure you're right to make it public. As you say, the church needs to be protected from strange ideas. There's more than enough of that kind of thing circulating already. I have no idea if reporting will help or not, but I do feel sure that exposing the situation is the right approach." Oh, boy. Now, mind you, they think they got my shirt taken down. Teespring did not find a problem with it, and I could still sell it right now. So, again, they just know it's just pure. I almost don't think they could say a truth statement. It may not be able to come out of their mouth. I don't know. Again, I don't, I want to be the best Christian I can, but I do find this very frustrating, and I find it also funny at the same time. But, that's why you just got to pray and just leave it up to God. It's in God's hands ultimately. So what's responded after that? Reported it and got each of my 5 kids to report it. Good job, Alyssa. Again, and notice how these are all progressive women who are claiming to be Orthodox. So here's the next one. "Oh, Monica, read and all. You should see what more I discovered. His name is Daniel Patrick Harry." What? Where did you get that? Daniel. "And he's a recent convert following this Jay Dyer, another recent convert. Basically, they enamored with New Age stuff and is openly taking the Logos part of Orthodoxy and claiming it as a church, the Church of the Eternal Logos, hence totally disregarding the Holy Trinity. It's scary because he's gaining followers and says he ultimately follows Orthodoxy in his life decisions. Therefore, he's totally spreading heresies. Here are some screenshots from his website describing himself. Please correct me if I'm off base." Guys, if you actually go to my website and read what she's reading, what I talk about, I study. I'm talking about my research for my PhD has to do with new religious movements in America, most specifically the 1960s counterculture and the use of psychoactive substances for spiritual experience. Anybody who's watched my stuff knows that has nothing to do with Oh my gosh, these people, it's scary, really. It's scary that they think they have a handle on truth or anything of reality. So Monica responds, "I don't suppose he's under a bishop, even nominally, although He repeatedly identifies himself as an Orthodox Christian. Oh my God. Okay, what else do we got? This is the next part, continuing right where we left off. So Georgita responds to Monica, surprised that I'm claiming to be an Orthodox Christian. How could he be if he's spouting these heresies? If that's what you mean, I mean, would a bishop allow this? And then Monica responds, exactly. He seems to be more or less running his own invented cult. And then they post screenshots of me describing what logos theology is and talking about presuppositional, really a sort of presuppositional apologetic distinction between orthodoxy and different forms of Christianity. Anybody can go there, look it up. Please tell me if you found something heretical there. You're not going to, because it's very basic Orthodox theology, of which they know nothing about. But they're trying to use descriptions of actual Orthodox theology to claim I'm running a cult. And so check this one out. And it looks like I'm missing one of the screenshots I didn't catch that talks about it being a psychedelic cult, and I'm telling people to take psychedelics. Isn't this scary? So I believe this is beyond trolling. And then Monica says, yes, he certainly seems sincere, unfortunately. And then Mary, this is, again, thank God Orthodoxy does not have women clergy. He looks really disorganized and delusional, almost like there's some psychosis going on. Yes, I'm the one with psychosis. That's exactly it. Guys, this is astounding. It's amazing how these people work. I mean, they really they're so in opposition to truth. It's unbelievable. The fact that anybody could go and watch my YouTube channel and would hear me refuting the accusations that they're placing upon me. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I can't wait. I'm going to scroll through. Do you guys have any comments regarding some of this stuff? I mean, it is hilarious. Exactly, Joshua. Georgia is being disingenuous, not wrong, but lying. These people are wicked. Think about it. If someone said you have to stop being straight and being with girls for the rest of your life and only be with men, and that's what God wants, how would you lot feel? I'm not sure, Stephen. Sorry. Subdeacon Mark mentioned, unfortunately, many people in the church do not know the faith, nor are they following it, but dole out knee-jerk reactions. Exactly. And thank you, Subdeacon Mark. Thank you, Bobby, for at times your mentorship, at other times your friendship. It truly means a lot, and I love you guys. Thank you. Christianity is all about Christ fixing our passions, not to suppress them. Good point, Nate. Just got here, but yeah, beloved, yeah. I will truly pray for you, and you seem to be in a hard place. I think you're talking about somebody. Yeah, fallen student. They aren't sending their best. No, they're not. Sadly, it's not even. I don't even think it's B team. And the defrocked homosexual priest and a bunch of Karens. That's exactly what we're up against. And so, to a degree, I think I like our chances. Now, we are up against this sort of institutional presence that they have, and that's why they feel so empowered to just say outright lies, try to castigate and form a narrative around somebody, because ultimately there's no repercussions on them. They're just progressives that are concerned, right? But really, they're disingenuous, they're dishonest. Ultimately, they live lives wrapped up in sin, and that's why they feel compelled to do such things. Because, again, none of them messaged me directly or privately or wanted to talk about it or ask if I have white supremacist leanings or ask about my theology or do I promote a Trinity. Or they didn't want to know any of this stuff. They just wrote up this hit piece. and then publish it, and then get their little foot soldiers, which happen to be all women, and I'm sure they're all middle-aged women with not much else to do. And then they flag my online stuff. They message my priest. They contact my metropolitan. They flag my Teespring, which Teespring ended up ruling in my favor, and my t-shirt can still be sold. It's still on my Teespring account, so sorry about you. Unfortunately, Teespring didn't feel that it violated any form of hate speech, so thank you, Teespring. One of the few, seems like, more tech companies that have a sort of a little bit of reason within their bureaucracy. Jeff Mullen said a couple of Karens saving the faith. Yeah. So Daniel said, imagine having Karens be a part of the priesthood. I know. Oh, you don't want to be martyred? Don't you on women clergy? So it looks like I got a few super chats. Thank you very much, guys. Let me kind of go through those. Zigmos, shout out to Zigmos. Go on SoundCloud and follow our fellow brother in Christ, Zigmos. He is also helping me with an audio production, sort of audio song that I want to use for the channel. So shout out to you, brother. In fact, we were just in contact today. He put out a new song, it's sort of a rap song called The Tallest Nail, and it's about... well, it's a godly inspired track. I recommend it. Go to Zigmos. Zigmos, throw your SoundCloud link in the in the description, and people can check you out because you have some really good music. So thank you, Zigmos. He says cheers and threw in $10. Really, really appreciate you, brother. Eugen threw in £10. Thank you very much, brother. He's doing great work on the Telegram, and feel free to throw in your throw in your links there, Eugen. And I'm using his Germanic pronunciation. I know it sounds maybe a little off, but Eugen is doing great stuff in regards to the Orthodox community, creating groups, spaces for people to talk about controversial ideas. He's got group chats in German and Serbian and Spanish and Portuguese, and then he has a big one in English. So thank you very much, brother, for the £10. Greatly appreciate it. You said Kosovo is Serbia. Montenegro is Serbia. Bosnia is Serbia. Croatia is Serbia. North Macedonia is Serbia. Slovenia is Serbia. America is an overseas territory of Serbia. Interesting. I think he's going with his Greater Serbia rant in regards to the controversies happening in the Balkans area. America as an overseas territory of Serbia, not sure about that, but I love the enthusiasm. So our brother Eugen, please share your links, brother, for people to join your Telegram groups, your Twitter handle, whatever group you would appreciate people to contact you with or follow you. Feel free to share all that right now for our brothers and sisters. Boris threw in $2 and says, best Confederate anti-Trinitarian DMT cult ever. Thank you, Boris. Yeah, I know, right? Like, I mean, it's just crazy how people could get something so ass backwards that, one, I don't promote white supremacy. To promote race realism or talk about white people in a non-derogatory term or derogatory way, I guess that's white supremacy. So one, I don't promote white supremacy. So the claim is a white supremacist with a cult. Anybody who watches my YouTube channel knows I don't run a cult. In fact, I tell most of you guys, don't believe what I say, go look it up, do this or that. It's really a sort of group of, theologically Christian-minded men that are interested in sort of intellectual approaches to topics. So the idea that we're a cult is hilarious. It's laughable. What we do is do apologetics to get people to join the Orthodox Church. And then 3, that I promote psychedelics and that this is a psychedelic cult. The only time I talk about psychedelics is sort of repentful discussions about my previous lifestyle and telling why that worldview and that cultural milieu is wrong and in opposition to what I believe to be true and stand for. So just just crazy, crazy. So, and then and related to that, I'm anti-Trinitarian. I'm anti-Trinitarian. I challenge these people, find one audio segment on this YouTube channel where I'm anti-Trinitarian. That is hilarious. Uh, it's hard to fathom. It's crazy, but it's funny at the same time. So hilarious. They think that I'm a white supremacist running a psychedelic cult that's anti-Trinitarian. Amazing. So Boris P, thank you for the $2, bro. I really, really appreciate this. Joshua Lindbergh Films. Hey, go check out his YouTube channel as well. If you can find him, Josh, throw down your link in the live chat. He's making very good short films. Interested in sort of making headspace with a Christian mind, Orthodox Christian mind inside the film industry. So support our brother Josh, doing really good work, creative guy. He threw in psychotic cult leader takes drugs and preaches heresies at his church. Yeah, that's basically what they think. I mean, it's just it's phenomenal. It's mind-bending. It's scary. Guys, if you haven't, please like this video. It helps in the search results. So it's very funny. I do look forward to seeing Bobby and Subdeacon Mark at church tomorrow. I'll be able to get back to liturgy. I missed a week. And then the week before, I was in the spill room, or sort of excess spill room. So we'll have to get there early given the social distancing requirements, which are still unfortunate in my opinion. But look forward to that tomorrow. I want to see what you guys are talking about in the chat real quick. Oh, Miss B says, this has been pretty entertaining. Thank you, Miss B. I'm glad you found it so. So it looks like we're having trouble with a guy named Stephen Ronan. Mark Schmidt said that Stephen Ronan is here to quote mine the chat and to get Kodal in trouble. I don't doubt it. This is what a lot of people want to do. So if you start to get into their belief systems or worldview, it all kind of converges and makes a lot of sense. Nate said, okay, so if there is a God, how do you know if your heart is good? Oh, they're looks like they're questioning this guy. Oygen says, thanks for the shout out, Patrick. Thank you, brother. You're doing great work for the community. You're doing great work for Orthodoxy internationally. And I love your spirit and I love your hard work, man. Keep on keeping on. Block Party Vintage said, your mom is going to be just fine. Thank you, Block Party Vintage. I actually really appreciate that. I really appreciate that, you know. So, Block Party Vintage said, I'll be praying for her. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Jesus did say, when asked about divorce, from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife. Amen. Film trip. Totally agree. Welcome, Jethro, Block Party Vintage. Appreciate you guys. So Jesus affirmed God's design of heterosexual marriage. And later, St. Paul explains it in the image of Christ in the church. Exactly. It's both in Leviticus and Romans. You guys can find discussions on homosexuality or men laying with other men. Stephen Ronan thinks we're all in our own echo chamber. Again, Oygen, you can feel free to ban anybody you deem that does not contribute to the general conversation of this YouTube channel. So if Stephen Ronan is here to cause trouble or stir up chaos, feel free to ban him. That is certainly not what we're interested in here. And so B-Love says, is everyone's Orthodox church requiring masks? B-Love, my church is not requiring a mask as of right now. Thank God they're just south of county line, because basically all of Indiana is pretty much normal except for Marion County. So the county within Indianapolis is within Marion County. It's the biggest county in the state, and they're doing mandatory mask stuff like that, where the rest of the state is not. And our church, Subdeacon Mark and I, St. Mary of Egypt in Greenwood, Indiana, we do not have mandatory masks. They have masks available for those who want to wear it. They do mandatory social distancing. Again, and I will leave that up. As long as there's no prerequisite to enter the church, I'm okay. But if they have to take my temperature, if I have to wear a mask, if I have to do something to enter the house of God, I will also have a problem. Right now, my church does not. I feel like my priest is a very, very great. I greatly respect my priest, and again, Subdeacon Mark. I basically confide in them all my thoughts about everything. So I feel very fortunate to have a family that supports my values, and then have a church and the clergy that support my values. And I understand they're dealing with older people who are reluctant to come to church. Our parish has really witnessed a decline in attendance. So for them, doing sort of preventive measures might help people come back to the church. I personally don't like the idea of any sort of secular authority affecting the way in which liturgy or communion or the way in which we enter church to be altered. This is my own opinion. This is an opinion, so you guys can do with it what you want. But that's just how I feel, is I don't want to belong to a congregation that is more worried about the world than worried about following God. And so if we can take preventive measures, I think everybody should do that. But if God ultimately wants you to have COVID-19 that has an incredibly low death rate, well, then that is God's providence for you. Most likely, all of us would test positive, given that the testing methods that they're using are PCR antibody tests. So if you had COVID, if you've been exposed to COVID and you're never sick, your body, based on the immunological processes, has still already formulated antibodies to this particular, really to the whole host of coronaviruses. So that's the thing about these testing. There's new cases. Guys, we cannot fall victim to this narrative that there's a second wave right now. The second wave is immense amounts of testing, telling people they test positive despite them not having any actual symptoms. And the fact that you can test positive by having antibodies to any coronavirus. So it doesn't have to be antibodies, because they're not testing for antibodies to COVID-19. They're testing for a general existence of antibodies in the bloodstream, in the body, to any sort of coronavirus. That's a whole family of virus. Almost all seasonal flus come from the coronavirus family. And so if you had any of that stuff, you're going to test positive. The idea that we're in the midst of this massive wave and people are dying is absolutely ridiculous. And that's why you're seeing articles online right now talking about how the low death rate is not a good thing. This is not something to celebrate. The fact that it's less than it's less than 0.5% for everybody. If you're in the ranges between like children to up to like 55, it's like 0.04%. It's super low. And then the idea that we would have vaccines for something with such a low death rate makes no sense at all. Unless, as you guys know, there's an alternative agenda. And that's what's interesting about Kanye West. Even though he has no shot of becoming president, he's not even going to be eligible in some states. But the fact that he's talking about COVID-19, the virus as the mark of the beast, a sort of satanic global system. He's America first. Now, he has these weird things about Wakanda and all this stuff. So again, he's not a totally serious candidate, but he certainly is one that may influence the narrative. He certainly is one that, if he continues to run, could potentially draw a considerable amount of African-American votes from Joe Biden. Now, I don't think he's going to affect Trump's voting base. I think Trump's pretty much going to be fine whether Kanye runs or not. I think it's more detrimental to Biden than anybody, even though the independent ideas of Kanye have a lot of overlap with some of Trump's ideas. But like manufacturing in the U.S., this is something he's trying to do with his Yeezys, right? He wants a factory in Wyoming and all that stuff, and he wants people to work locally, all that stuff. So very, very interesting stuff and interesting times. Moving back through the chat, it looks like Subdeacon Mark mentioned no one has ever listened to Patrick, or even a cursory basis would be able to levy any one of these accusations. Exactly. Thank you, Subdeacon Mark. Nobody knows the truth. Stephen Ronan, this guy does not seem like an honest actor, but I'll let you guys judge. I thought I saw somebody highlight my... Oygen said he's going to give him one more chance. Go ahead. So, this is a person, Jesus Christ, who has revealed himself and through his church. Agreed. Yeah, somebody said this is all a hoax. Certainly it's all manipulated. And so at a rhetorical level, I think plandemic is such it works really, really well, because even somebody who's not sophisticated in all these different things that we're talking about, that we know, the ways that they're testing, the history of Fauci with AIDS, all these things, that there's sort of layers to this onion, and a lot of people haven't unpeeled those or peeled back those layers. Just the term plandemic gets a lot of the frame already in somebody's cortex, inside their head, inside their mind, that I think that term, that phrase is really, it has real mimetic power. I know that they're the documentary and now it's tied to all these different things, but just hear me out. I think there's real mimetic power by talking about this as plandemic. We're seeing the articles talk, that we've had the secular miracles of the BLM protests not spread COVID, despite hundreds and thousands of people standing shoulder to shoulder with each other without mask on. So I certainly think that's a secular miracle, right? For the new religion, for the new cult that I was talking about. Logos Renaissance said, I'm still waiting for the first wave. Exactly. Has anyone watched Utopia on here? Logos Renaissance, I'm not sure who you mean by, or what you mean by Utopia. If you want to explain that further. He says it's about vaccines and GMO food. I have not seen it. Okay, see you, Subdeacon Mark. He's going to do fireworks with his grandson, so good for him. Commissar 9, yo, I have been at your parish. I spend every Sunday in Greenwood with my girlfriend and her family. Your parish is a 5-minute walk from my girlfriend's house. Commissar 9, dude, come to church tomorrow. I'll meet you. I even shake hands. I don't social distance, so come and give me your COVID. If you and your girlfriend are down, come to St. Mary's of Egypt, Antiochian Orthodox Church tomorrow, and let's meet. And we'll chit chat after liturgy. So Commissar 9 is in Indiana, fellow Hoosier. He's a 5-minute walk from the parish. Dude, come on through. Let's go to church tomorrow. I'll be there. So that's we got another super chat. Oh, Byzantine Warrior. Thank you very much, brother. £5. Thank you. Can we have another 20-second moment of silence in honor of God napalm striking Sodom and Gomorrah again? I think it's relevant to this video. I think that is absolutely in due. So in honor of Byzantine Warrior wanting to commemorate the righteous indignation of God and his destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah in the degenerate practice of sodomy and sexual degeneracy generally, we are now going to experience a 20-second moment of silence. All right. Thank you, Byzantine Warrior. That was necessary. It was useful. It was relevant. It was pertinent to the video. Thank you very much. Based, laugh out loud. Yep. Craig Westbrook, how can you make a video against cancel culture but then threaten to cancel Steve Ronan? Oh my gosh. The level of IQ is just hilarious. Mind you, this Craig Westbrook gentleman, he blows me up. I gave him this. This is, guys, this is the inversion that I'm talking about. So this gentleman, Craig Westbrook, in the chat right now, lives in Kentucky. He contacted me. He wanted to talk about things on my YouTube channel. He saw a few videos on Church of the Eternal Logo. So as a generous guy that I am, I allow a conversation. So we have a convo. I give him a whole hour of my time during a working day because he seemed fairly knowledgeable at Gnosticism. Mind you, halfway through this conversation, I realized he did not even know I'm an Orthodox Christian, knows nothing about Orthodoxy, and believes that God is the concept of infinity with an I, because some of you may know that there's a theory about the different sizes of infinity and that it's spelling infinity not with a Y but with an I. It highlights the infinity of infinity. So having already been aware of all this stuff, having already moved through the whole New Age worldview, which he believes to be enamored with, and gained this concept through a psychedelic, an LSD high, I maintain conversation. I try to help him out. The guy became just mean about the fact I don't want to go back and forth. Like, there's no stopping. This guy blows up my phone. Most people, almost every single person I've interacted with who's been a fan or friends of what I try to do online, extremely courteous, polite, respectful, knowledgeable, smart, well-read. And this Craig Westbrook, he begins calling me a coward, calling me a name, all this stuff because I find his religion, which is really what he believes to have discovered, the ultimate theology, this concept of infinity, because I find it insufficient. I find it laughable because it's built on all these obvious presuppositions that aren't going to suffice. And so I try to get him to look at Norwegian News. I try to get him to look at Jay Dyer and understand the problems with paradigms, and that, we're not even having a full conversation because for you're working in what you guys would understand as classical foundationalism, a sort of evidentiary understanding of empirical evidence for how the world works. Well, you're not going to get there you're not going to get to what I'm trying to talk about on this channel or have a constructive conversation if that's where you're at, because we're doing presuppositional stuff. We're still talking about stuff that's way beyond. So the guy is just, you try to help him out. I told him to stop messaging me multiple times, and he'll just keep messaging on and on and on. And then he, most of the time he's, I respect his efforts. Seems like he's really interested in what he believes that he have discovered, but you got to give it up, dude. You got to give it up. And if you keep texting me, I'm going to block you. Like, I'm going to block you. And look at, still didn't answer the question. How can you make a video about cancel culture and threaten to cancel Steve Ronan? Because it's not the same thing. The fact again, this is the level. This is why it's so frustrating to deal with this guy. He just doesn't give up. Cancel culture, the cancellation of people from the internet in regards to their productivity, things that they create, their ability to exist on certain platforms, their ability to be representative within a university, be students, do all this stuff, work at various institutions. The fact that you can get people fired, which is called cancel culture, or getting them deplatformed or taking things away from them, is not the same thing from limiting who can access one's chat. And the fact that that is confused shows you the level of conversation that makes it so difficult to deal with somebody who always thinks they're right. I know that I'm not right all the time, but if you give me a logical explanation from your perspective and it trumps what I'm saying, I will say I'm wrong and you're right. I have no problem with being wrong. This guy it's surreal. Like, it's surreal, and I don't want to keep on lambasting this guy. I have no idea other than he likes to call me names because he'll ask me questions. For example, 2 weeks ago, I told him to stop messaging me. Hadn't talked to him for a month or so. He asked me, it seemed like an honest question about discrepancies within James and I believe Romans in regards to faith. Okay, so I send him excerpts from the Orthodox Study Bible so he can understand what it means from an Orthodox perspective. That wasn't going to work. The whole thing is a bait and switch. And I told him, here, you seem genuine, you seem honest. Here are my responses to the question you asked. Here is the evidence from the Orthodox perspective, and that's it. I don't want to go back and forth. I don't want to have an argument. You don't have to believe any of this. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to accept it. So what happens? Tons and tons of more messages about how I'm wrong, about how this or that, about why again, his concept of infinity is just incredible. It makes no sense. So I know Logos Renaissance says, bro, delete this clown. I know I'm so reluctant to do that because I try to engage with everybody. But no, Logos Renaissance is ultimately right. This is ridiculous. Blocking a troll in the chat is not the same as canceling someone by canceling their priest, their school, their job, and trying to put them out of business. Thank you, John Anon. Not super hard. Yeah. Yeah. Keeping certain people out of a chat room is not cancel culture. That is just, that is asinine to compare. So, done with that topic. Craig Westbrook, God bless you, man. Go to an Orthodox church. Look, I hope you figure out what it is you're looking for. It seemed like, unfortunately, we don't. You're the only person that I've been in contact with online that doesn't seem like we jive at all. And I don't know why you keep watching my stuff or messaging me, texting me. Just God bless you, man, and just go your own way. You don't have to believe any of this stuff. That's not what I'm here to do, is to convince you. So, Beloved said, Patrick's dealing with the community head on. Banning is a form of discipline and a focusing amongst the community. It's not a form of trying to cancel a person's ability to earn money or obliterate them. Exactly, Beloved. Thank you. That was really well put. And that's what Nate said. Well said. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. So that's the it. So yes, we're just cleaning up the chat. So that's really, unless anybody's got some more questions or topics of concern, that's really all that I had to say. I really appreciate the gentleman who said he will be praying for my mother. That means a lot to me. So if you guys want, I can show you that surprise video one more time. Here is the video in which I drove 9.5 hours. I woke up at 1:30 in the morning and stayed up for over 24 hours to surprise my mother for her birthday. For the first time in our lives, have the entire family at a cottage in which my great-grandfather built in Iowa, in northern western Iowa, just south of Minnesota, called Lake Okoboji, Spirit Lake, Iowa. And so this is the video that was filmed by my niece when I arrived, and my sister took my dog, my pit bull, around to surprise my mother. So here it is.
I'm taking a video. I can see his tumor hanging. She knows that is. Sorry. The two first came to life. That does look like SARS.
So that really concludes today's video. Don't have a whole lot to say. But thank thanks everybody for supporting me in the YouTube channel. I will be back with more videos. I'll be back with a new live stream Monday. I have not decided on the exact topic. If you guys have some suggestions, I'm certainly open to it. But man, sorry guys, I didn't plan on getting emotional. Just oh, freak. It's just knowing how much it all means to my mother. Oh, man. Oh gosh, I can't believe this. Sorry guys. Sorry. But God. Anyways, I gotta get off here. Freak. Thank you guys for all the love and support. I appreciate it. I really, really do. And I'll see you guys on Monday. So, as always, God bless.